Okay, so we're going through these questions. Number 1, Richard.
You do product and sum.
Yep.
So P equals plus 8, and then the sum equals -6.
Yep. Keep
And
going.
You find the factors, so it's 1, 8, 2, 4, and then you use 2, 4 to get the -6. So -6 is the highest, and then you
Okay, so the highest gets the negative, yeah. Which one's the highest? And
4,
so that gets the negative, and this is
and that's the same.
same. So tell me what else happens here.
Oh, you have the negative for the
And a negative here as well, because they have to be the same. Keep going.
And then you put into brackets plus -2, and then close brackets, and then open bracket at m-4.
Yeah, so we put the m in for the letter, and then we put these in.
And then that equals
Keep
0.
going.
And then,
So you factorise the left-hand side.
oh yeah, and then you do, m-2 equals 0,
Yep.
and you do m-4 equals 0.
Good, so we make each of the brackets equal to 0. Now you're going to solve each one. What do we got?
So you do m equals 0 plus 2, and then
Okay, so if we do 0 plus 2 over here, what is it? 2. And over here?
and you do m equals 4.
4. Good. All right, so our two answers are m equals 2 and 4. Any questions? Okay, number 2, Dean.
For this one, would you just take the -64 and put it on the other
Who thinks it's a good idea to take that 64 and put it to the other side? You think it's a good idea?
Actually, depends on which method you use to.
It does depend which method you use, but if we're going to do a general rule for all of them, what's the first thing I told you yesterday, Mitchell?
When it has 2 terms, give difference of 2 squares.
Well, we'll do that in a minute, but before that, what was the first thing I told you to do?
I'll look for the square.
No? Go back to the notes from yesterday and have a look at solving quadratic equations. What's the first step?
Make it equal.
Make it equal to 0. So if it's already equal to 0, Dean, are we going to ruin that? No, we're going to leave it like that. Okay, so we're going to look at this now. Dean, can you continue? Or are you stuck because you did it the other way?
Yeah, the other way.
Did it the other way. Okay, just keep your mask up for me. All right, Lachlan, what do we do?
Difference of 2 squares.
Okay, and that's what Mitchell was about to say. All right, keep going.
So you would have k minus 8 in one bracket and then k plus 8 in the other.
Good. So when you've got two terms, it must be, well, look for a common factor first, and we don't have one. So then if it's two terms, it has to be the difference of 2 squares. Right? So remember how to do it. There's your difference. Your minus in the middle. These two things are squared. So it's a k being squared and an 8 being squared. So you take the k and the 8 to both brackets, one with a minus, one with a plus. All right, Adrian, continue.
K minus 8 equals 0.
Yep.
K equals 8. K plus 8 equals 0. K equals -8.
Good. So you end up with your two answers, k equals 8 and -8. Any questions so far? All right, number 3, Noah.
I'm sure.
Okay, what's the first rule we do when solving a quadratic equation?
You have to make it equal.
Make it equal to 0, let's go.
You bring the 2a over.
So we have,
A squared minus 2a.
good, and over here,
0.
0. So you've made it equal to 0. You'll learn a lesson because I could see what you did in your homework before and you didn't do that and you mucked it up, and we'll see why you mucked it up in a minute. Right, Taj, what happens now?
Then we put the A, we did A brackets, A minus 2.
Good, so we're taking out a common factor of A and we end up with that. All right, Shaban, take us from there.
And you want, so A equals 0,
Yep,
and then A minus 2 equals 0, and A equals 2.
good. So we end up with two answers, A equals 0 and 2. Remember, this bit here, it might be easier for you to just put it in a bracket, and then you just take both brackets, make them both equal to 0, and keep going from there. All right, now, Noah, in your homework question, you didn't do the equals to 0, and a lot of people make that mistake in a test, right? So what happens if you don't make it equal to 0? So let's just see. Sorry, just checking I can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so if we had that and didn't make it equal to 0, what were you going to do? You don't remember. Who thinks they might know what they might do here? What?
They try square root the A to remove the power, or?
No, that's not what they normally do. This is what they normally do. Right? They normally go, I'm going to divide both sides by A. This is what they do. Now, if you do that, watch what happens. Now, if you do that, that will cancel with that, that will cancel with that, and you end up with an answer that says A equals 2. Is that right? No, we didn't get A equals 2, we got A equals 0 and 2. So you lost an answer along the way, didn't you? So if you do that in a test, you'll get 1 mark out of 2. That's wrong. We're not doing it like that, because you'll only get half the marks if you do that. Okay? So that's a big error that a lot of people make in a test. Now the reason you lose that answer of 0 is because when you divide by a letter, the letter you're dividing by, if the answer could be a 0, is you're dividing by a 0. Now get your calculator out. What happens when you pick any number you like and divide by 0? It gives you a maths error, it's not defined. So that's how we lose that 0 answer. Now if you didn't understand what I just said, that's okay, but this is the way we're doing it. Don't ever do that. Any questions? Okay, number 4. Who can tell me what we're doing over here, Kirby?
So you're doing the cross multiplying.
Yeah, we can do that here. Off you go.
So put the 5x plus 7 in brackets.
Yep.
Then you do 3 bracket 5x plus 7 equals 6x.
Yep. It doesn't matter which order you do your first multiplication. That's good. Keep going.
Then 15x plus 21 equals 6x. Then
Keep going.
15x minus 6x equals minus 21.
Yep.
Then 9x equals negative 21.
Yep.
X equals negative 21 over 9. X equals negative 7 over 3.
Perfect. Any questions? No? Okay, who got 4 out of 4 today? Perfect. Well done, boys. 1 wrong? Okay. I just need to know that you know what you're doing with the ones you got wrong. Okay, you need to work quicker. You need to get your homework done. Then you'll get used to working quicker. All right, give yourself a mark out of 4 today, boys, and turn to the front of your book. Yep.
The final one, why don't you make the mixed numeral?
Here, we never make it into a mixed numeral. Sometimes the textbook will, but you're going to get full marks in any exam, including the HSC, if you leave as an improper fraction. Okay? So you don't need to go the extra keys on the calculator. The answer the calculator gives you will always be an improper fraction. Just write it down. Okay.
Yeah, because that's what I was kept on saying on the textbook, you just gave us mixed numerals.
I know. I don't know why the book is doing that, because it's not common practice. And in a lot of the old books, they would just leave them like they're supposed to as an improper fraction. Okay, boys, at the front of your book, you're writing this down. Toby, get started. Okay, you're going to do this question on your own, start to finish. Off you go. And then that one. Okay, so you're doing all three of those by yourself and we'll see how we go. There's 4 of them up there now. Alright, I'll leave you with it for a moment. Now when you finish, just put your pen down. If you're confused, put your hand up. So you could have at the beginning got rid of that to how? You could have you see how it's divided by 2? You could take it over here times by 2 right at the start of the question, so it's going to be easier. But if you're going to do it now, you can multiply every term by 2. Right? So it's like multiplying by your common denominator. Yeah, you can if you like. So what do you end up with? Yeah? Now you've got to look at the rules I taught you the other day. So read back on solving quadratic equations. Step 1 is make it equal to 0. Okay, on the second one?
Yeah.
Have you done anything yet on that question?
No.
Why don't you deal with this then? What would you normally do there?
You take out the other side.
So do that first and then we'll talk about the next step in a minute.
Okay.
Has anyone not finished the first one? Okay, I'll just go through that and make sure we're okay. Jesse, what do we do in this first question?
I just went straight to y equals minus 1 in brackets, then another bracket y equals plus 1.
You don't mean y equals minus 1 written in a bracket, do you? Because
no.
this is what you're telling me. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
No, I mean just without the
Okay, so tell me what I'm writing in there.
y minus 1 and then y plus 1.
Okay, that's better. Keep going.
And then I just did, then y minus 1 equals 0 and then y plus 1 equals 0.
Keep going.
And then I did the 3 dots, therefore y equals minus 1 and 1.
All right, what's the answer coming off that equation?
1 minus 1.
Okay. And then we'll finish it off like you said. Good. Any questions on that one?
Can you do like the plus on top of the minus symbol instead of writing over?
Like this? Plus or minus 1?
Yeah.
You can. I'm not sure how it's written in the book, but I prefer that because you can see there are 2 distinct answers, but that's okay. You'll get full marks for it. Yep.
I was going to try that.
Okay. All right. Now let's get rid of this 2 first because that's what I told Toby to do. Let's go.
So we do
Yeah, so what will it look like in the next line?
So it'll look like k squared equals 1.
Okay, I'm going to write it as 0.5 times 2 first, and then you can tell me that. Now, Toby, what do you think we do now?
You take the power between square root of 1.
No, that's not the way I want you to do it, because we're going to probably miss an answer if we do that.
Yeah.
So what sort of an equation are you looking at here? What's it called? Starting with Q.
Quadratic.
It's a quadratic equation. How do you know it's a quadratic equation?
The power of 2.
Because it's got a squared, highest power is 2 on the letter. Yep? What's the first step in solving a quadratic equation?
Make it equal to 0.
Right. Now, how do you do that? You write equals 0. Now, what's over here if I do that?
Negative what? K squared equals negative. K squared minus 1.
That's better. Keep going.
And then
Factorise.
in brackets k minus 1 bracket and then k plus 1.
Good. Keep going.
And then you do k minus 1 equals to 0.
Just a sec. I'm just checking. Yeah, got the volume up. Okay. K minus 1 equals 0. Keep going.
And then k plus 1 equals 0.
Yep.
So then k would equal to 1.
Yep.
And then k minus 1.
K equals minus 1. Don't
Equals
forget.
minus 1,
And you've got 2 answers. Good work.
yeah.
Does that make sense now? Okay. Darcy. Next one. C.
You're gonna make it equal to 0, so you put the,
Good.
so it's 4x minus 1
4x
squared.
squared minus 1. Okay, we're factorising that. What have we got?
2x minus 1.
Yep.
And then 2x plus 1.
Perfect. Keep going.
2x minus 1 equals 0.
Yep.
And then 2x plus 1 equals 0.
Continue. We're just solving the equation bit by bit.
0 plus 1 plus 1.
Well, 0 plus 1 we know is just 1, so we'll just write it as a 1. We've still got 2x here. Keep going.
And then x equals 1 over 2.
Good. Do the other one for me.
1 minus 1 over 2, so minus.
Okay, slowly.
X equals minus 1 over 2.
Slowly. One step at a time.
2x equals minus 1.
Okay, now what?
X equals minus 1 over 2.
That's better. Okay, do every step, otherwise you're going to make some sort of a silly mistake along the way. And there's our 2 answers. Any questions? Right, Sean. Fix up that mask, please, and answer D for me.
So you get 9k plus 10 minus 13.
So 9k squared plus 10 minus 13. And over here?
Equals 0.
Good, continue.
And then you're doing product sum.
No, not yet. When you see something that can be worked out, you work it out. So let's work that little bit out there.
9k squared equals, minus 3
That's better.
equals 0.
Right, continue.
Would you get 52 squares?
When you look at your methods of factorising, what's the first method you always try? Number 1. Common factor. Is there a common factor there?
Yeah.
There is. What is it?
3.
3. Take it out. What do we got?
So 3 bracket 3k squared
Squared.
minus 1.
Good. Now, this number that we've taken out here, you can leave it there if you like. It's not going to make any difference to our answers. Or, if it's in your way and you think that's just going to muck me up, you can actually divide by it. Right? So if you want, you can write it like this. Right? We can say, I'm going to get rid of that and divide by 3 on the other side. So let's just fix this up. So if you do 0 over 3, that'll give you a 0. Yeah? Does everyone understand what I just did there? Okay. Now why am I allowed to do that? Alright, because it looks like, how many terms have I got on the left-hand side? How many?
2.
Who thinks we've got 2 terms on the left-hand side? A couple of people do. Does anyone want to give me a different answer to 2? How many?
Is there only one term?
There's only 1 term. That's why we're allowed to do what we did. Okay, because remember, when you've got a bracket, right, so we've got 3 bracket equals 0, it's like looking at 3a equals 0. That is 1 term, isn't it? Okay, so you can see that if it was something like that, we'd be legally allowed to go, yeah, I'll get rid of that and move it to the other side. So when you've got the bracket there, don't look inside it for terms. Okay, so that's why we're legally allowed to do that. I'll just put a line through that so you're not getting too much to look at. All right, now, if you want to leave the 3 there, you can. We'll leave it there if you want. And then we have a look at the rest of it. Now, when we look at that bracket, can we factorise that any further? Hands up. Who thinks we can? Who thinks we can't? Yeah, we can't. All right, because if you're looking inside that bracket, there's 2 terms inside it. We've already taken out the common factor, so the only other way you'd be looking to factorise it is to do difference of 2 squares. And that's a difference of 2 squares looking like over there, but this is not, okay? So in this question, it's a bit different because we can't take that any further. So we're going to do what we normally would do from here, which is take the bracket, make it equal to 0. Right? Now, it's a bit difficult to write as a difference of 2 squares, so this one we are going to take it back over to the other side. And we're going to take the 3 over as well. Have I lost anybody yet? Okay. Who can tell me what we're doing next? Jack, do you know what we're doing next? How are we going to get rid of that squared there? Opposite is? Square root.
So square root 1 over 3.
We're square rooting 1 over 3. Are you missing anything yet? Can anyone see anything missing in what Jack just told me? Peter, what do you think? It's a plus or minus. So you've got to be very careful if we are in this situation where we have to do it like this. If you've got the squared there, you know you're going to end up with 2 solutions and they'll be plus or minus. So make sure they're in there. Okay? Now, when you're square rooting a fraction, Sean, do I need to send you outside for that mask? You're going outside if it's down again. Okay, actually, can we open these windows? Because I forgot to do that. Anyone over there near a window, open it please. Jack, open yours. Okay, when you're square rooting a fraction, you square at the top and the bottom. So who can tell me what we're going to write here next? Plus or minus?
Why can't we just leave it as a 3?
What is it?
Can we just leave it as a 3?
We need to go one more line on this.
Alright.
So who can tell me what we're going to have if we square root the 1 on the top? Lachlan?
We have just 1 on the top.
1 on the top, and what will be on the bottom? Don't use your calculator. Read it to me. Answer is? Lucas? Root 3. That's how you give your answer. You can split it into the 2 answers that it is, 1 over root 3 and negative 1 over root 3. As Mitchell said before, this would give you full marks, so would this, they're both right. Now, if you left the 3 there, what happened to it? Well, can you imagine what would happen if we took that in a bracket, right, let's put it in a bracket, and make it equal to 0. Because that's what we normally do, don't we? 3 equals 0, does that make any sense? No. So we're not getting any answer from that, are we? So you're going to have no solution from that. So from this section you've got no solution, and here's your two answers. So that one was a bit tricky. Alright, make sure you've got that all copied down.
In the test, would we have to like do what you just did? Write 3 equals 0 and then no solution?
You don't have to if you know what's going on. I'm showing you because what will happen is some of you are going to do that on another question, right? So if I gave you this, I don't want you ignoring the k out there, because that actually does give you a solution, doesn't it? So that only happens if it's a number, right? So I don't want you skipping steps if you're kind of only half sure about it. So I'd kind of rather you wrote it down and go, oh yeah, okay, that doesn't make any sense, no solution from that bit, and all my answers are coming from over here. Okay? Alright. Anyone still over here with A or B? Alright, copy down the next question. I want you to think about this one. Copy the question down and start thinking. Anyone still needs C on the board? Right, who's got an answer for me? Now, remember in maths, when you've got an explain question, you don't have to just launch into a sentence. You can try and do some maths working to just demonstrate what you're trying to tell me. Righto, Joe, what do you think you do?
Well, since there's a square on the x, you think the square root needs to be 81.
Okay, so how do I write the next line?
It would be x equal, well, if you square root 81 by itself, you get 9 or negative 9, but this is negative and
So
x
tell me
is
how I'm going to write,
negative.
okay, don't try and work anything out, just tell me how to write this next line.
The x equals negative 9 or 9.
No, don't worry about the 9, I don't want you working anything out, okay? How do I get rid of the squared if I'm going to do it the way you're looking at it?
Root negative is the 81.
Sorry?
Root negative.
Root negative 81. Who agrees with what is written here? There's a couple of people agree with you. Who doesn't agree there's something wrong with it? Noah, what's wrong with it?
When you square root that, because you get like a...
I don't want to know about that. There's something missing in the working. What's missing?
The positive and negative.
The positive and negative. I don't want anybody getting slack on that. You're going to lose marks all over the place. You remember what I said before? So if you've got a 2 there, it's a little indication we're going to be getting 2 answers, possibly. And they will be plus or minus, so that plus or minus must be there. Okay, now who can tell me what happens next? Maxim.
Math error?
Maths error. What did you try and do on your calculator?
Root minus 81.
Okay, so when he tried to do this bit, the square root of negative 81 on the calculator, he got a maths error. And we never write maths error, we write not defined. Right? I don't care what the calculator's telling you, this is how we write it. It means it's not defined in maths, we can't get an answer. Alright? That's except if you go to extension 2 maths in year 12 and you learn about imaginary numbers and you might be able to do it then. But for most normal people, we can't do that. So if we get not defined, it means that x doesn't have any answers. There's no solutions. So then you can write, therefore, x has no solutions. Right? That's one way you can do the question. Who can give me a different way of doing the same question? Start the working. Ignore what I just wrote because I'm jumping ahead of myself. All right. Who can tell me the way I taught you to do these questions? Because this is not actually how I taught you. Dean?
Would you make it equal to 0?
Make it equal to 0, keep going.
So it'd be x squared plus 81.
Yeah, I can still hear you behind your mask, so keep it down. Now, what's the problem with that? Let's start trying to factorise this. First method we try is, does it have a common factor? No. Second method we're going to try for this question will be difference of 2 squares. Now what's the problem? What's wrong with it? It's a plus, okay? So here's your problem, right? It's not a difference, is it? So it's not a difference. There's your main thing. It's not a difference of 2 squares. So it can't be factorised. And then we run it, and then because it can't be factorised, you would then have to go and do what we were doing a minute ago, and you know what happened after that. Any questions? Okay. All right, we're starting the next part of the work. So anyone still on the right-hand side over there? All right. You can write this heading down. Okay, so we're doing simple cubic equations. All right, if you go into extension 1 maths, we'll be doing harder cubic equations. We'll just deal with simple ones at this stage. And I'm trying to get you used to some of the language that you'll be learning. You'll hear these terms being used in year 11 and 12, and then if you go on to doing any maths at uni, you'll hear it there as well. So this is what makes it a cubic equation, the cubed in there. Our letter is being cubed. Okay? Now the A and the C that we're talking about here, we say that A and C are constants. They'll use that word, constants. Now what that means is that they are numbers. So we might have 7 and 6 here, or -4 and 2/3, or 0.4 and 3.68, doesn't matter what sort of numbers, but those two things will be occupied with numbers, okay? That's different to a variable or a pronumeral like we have with x. That's a variable thing, whereas these are constant, they stay as numbers. Okay, so copy this down, we'll do a few of them. Now these are a lot easier than the quadratic equation, so it shouldn't take us long to get through these. Alright, so do what we would normally do. We need to get rid of that cube so that we can get that x by itself. We're not trying to make it equal to 0 or anything like that in this one. That's for quadratic equations only. Okay, so we're going to get rid of our cubed by cube rooting on the other side. And the 1 will be underneath. Now, do we need a plus or minus? No, we don't. The plus or minus is only for quadratic equations because it has a power of 2. But it also is for anything that's got an even power. So I could give you an x to the power of 4, x to the power of 28, x to the power of 102. Anything that's got an even power will have a plus or minus. This has got an odd power. So I want you to write this on the side. answer, keep the sign. Right, with even powers, two answers, plus or minus. Okay, anyone got any questions so far? So all you have to do now is go to your calculator, work that out, and give me the one answer that we get. Write it down. Anyone still on the left here? Okay. Is anyone still in the middle of the board? Let's write this one over here. All right, let's have a look over here. What answer have we got? Ryan, what'd you get? One? Straight off your calculator. Good. All right, next one. B. Shaban. First line.
U equals negative 8.
U equals what?
Negative 8 square root
It's cube root.
cube root.
Yeah? Got a little 3 there because that had a 3. Right, did you put that in your calculator? What'd you get?
2.
What did you put in your calculator to get a 2?
3 all over.
Try again.
Negative
Negative 2. Any questions? So you'll get one answer and it'll be the same sign as what we had here. Negative. Any questions? All right, you're doing this next one. I do not want you using the calculator, or you can try it, but the answer on the calculator will not be exact, so I don't want it written like that. Okay? So I'll just help you with this one first before you get to that next one. All right, Connor, tell me what to do.
So you just write the cube root of 11.
Now, when you go to your calculator, what did it give you?
I got like, do you want me to read out all this?
Yeah, read it out.
2.2398091.
Okay, now that answer went onto the end of the screen in the calculator and there were no repeating digits, were there?
Oh
No. So we're going to leave our answer like that because that answer is exact and we don't want answers that are not exact unless they tell you. And they haven't told you anything here, just said solve, so we're going to give our answer like that. Everybody doing D now? And is there anyone still on the right-hand side over here? No? Toby, fix that mask or you'll be outside. Yep. In a minute. I'll just let everyone have a go at this one first as well. All right, so when you do this one, when you get to the bit where you're using your calculator, write the whole answer down and then do your rounding. And you're doing that one as well. Now, if you get up with me on that one, I want you to copy that down and think about it. All right, we're having thinking questions now. Yes, Taj.
When you get to there.
Yeah, you've got to do the cube root, don't you? Okay, so write it with the cube root. Yeah, around the whole fraction. Okay, let's have a look at D. All right, Nixon, this one.
So we've got to start with get rid of the 7.
Yep.
So it's m squared cubed equals 448 divided by 7.
Keep going.
So that equals 64.
Yep.
And then we've got to get rid of the cube, so it's m equals the cube root of 64.
Yep.
Which just equals m equals 8. I mean 4.
And it comes out just as a 4. So that one you had to keep going. So you've got to use your calculator to check if it works or not. If it doesn't, you leave it like this. If it does, keep going. All right, the next two we're doing has to be to 1 decimal place. Kobe, start us off.
So you put the negative 10 over onto the right hand side, so it's 30 cubed equals 87 plus 10.
Keep going.
Then 30 cubed equals 97.
Yep.
Then you do, t cubed equals 97 over 3.
Yep.
Which equals 32 and 1/3.
Okay, I think we'll just leave it like that because 32 1/3 is just a bit harder to put back in.
Yeah.
So what are we doing now?
So then you do the cube root of 97 over 3.
Okay, and you should be able to enter that on your calculator like that. Just don't make any mistakes with the entry.
And it equals, it's a long decimal. So
Is it? Read it out.
The whole thing.
Yep.
So 3.85. Sorry, 3.185.
Yep.
185 7 8 7 666.
Okay, 1 decimal place.
3.2.
3.2. Any questions? All right, next one. Nate, B.
Would you take 4 across?
Yep.
That would be 3x cubed equals negative 10 over 4.
Negative 10 what?
Or negative 10 times 4.
Times 4. Keep going.
Negative 40, so 3x cubed equals negative 40. Then
Now?
you take the 3 across. So x cubed equals negative 40 over 3.
Yep.
And then you'll do x equals x equals cubed root negative 40 over 3.
Yep. And go to your calculator.
Do you want to read out the whole decimal?
I do. Yep.
Negative 2.3712622203.
Okay, a bit slower. Negative 2.
Negative 2.3712622203
Okay, round off.
equals negative 2.4.
Good. Any questions? Okay. So, does ax cubed equal c always have a solution? Hands up. I want a yes or a no. Nixon.
I'll go with yes.
You go with yes. So you're just taking a 50-50.
Well, I'm trying to think of the ways how there could be a solution.
That's a good idea. So it is a yes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it always does.
I couldn't think of a way that I could have been.
That's the best way of thinking about it. So the way Nixon was going, he's going, well, if I did x cubed equals 4, yeah, I could cube root the 4 on the calculator, that works. If I did x cubed equals minus 1, Yeah, I could do cube root of -1 on a calculator. If I did x cubed equals 0, I could cube root 0 on a calculator, so you can't find a number that doesn't work, can you? So it is a yes. Alright, so I'm going to give you a couple of follow-up questions on that one. We'll see how you go with these ones. Right, give your own answer to that. Right, there's 2 questions there, answer both of them. And then we'll write your homework up for you. Oh, what have I done here? Can't do that one yet. Alright, I think I've written this down wrong. I'll just fix this up in a minute. Okay, I will be writing the homework on Compass, so if you didn't get time to get that down, that's okay. Alright, who can tell me the answers to these 2 questions? When is the solution to x cubed equals c positive?
When the C sign is positive.
When c is positive. Good. When is the solution to x cubed equals c negative? When c is negative. Okay, you can go when you've got all that done, boys. I'll put the homework on Compass. I've got to double check that second exercise.